So Kevin, you just came off a panel. Tell me, what was the name of your panel and what were you guys talking about?
Our panel was on touring and live events and how people are learning how to go on the road, stay on the road, and hopefully one day make a living on the road.
And you are uniquely qualified to moderate this panel
because I guess I've been creating opportunities for artists for about 30 years to be on the road now, and I bring a lot of artists on the road now with the Vans Warped Tour, the Rockstar Taste of Chaos and Mayhem Festival, and now the Willie Nelson's Country Throwdown, where we do get a chance to bring a lot of singer-songwriters with us out on the road.
Yeah, you have actually made touring your life.
Yeah, for most of the year, but it's different than if I was just staying and working in production or doing something like when I was working with the Chili Peppers or Jane's Addiction. Now I kind of create these opportunities, which is nice for me because I can tell you exactly what city I'm in next year on July 23rd, you know, barbecuing in New York City with the people from ASCAP.
That's right, we met in New York City barbecuing backstage at the Warped Tour.
Yes, we did, but I never can remember when you walked up. I remember if I saw you in that same parking lot. That's what I always tell people. If I saw you in that exact same parking lot, I remember. You know, but here, everyone's not sweaty and, you know, getting a little more sleep now.
Well, one of the things that I thought was really remarkable and one of the reasons why I remember you so well is because you were rolling up your sleeves and flipping chickens along with everyone else back there. You were working hard.
Well, you know, that's the thing. It's, you know, it's work. Being on the road's work, but you take those opportunities to have a good time. And that New York show, because New York has been, the East Coast has been so good to us. When we merged West Coast punk rock and East Coast punk rock, there was kind of this friction maybe, and now when we go to New York, it's kind of more like our West Coast barbecue and West Coast event. That backstage area gets a little crowded with the people hanging out, so it's get to see a lot of old friends.
Yeah, it was a blast. We had a blast back there. So tell me a little bit about the format of Warped Tour specifically, of all the projects that you do, is really unique and really it's great. Tell me a little bit how you got the idea about.
Well, that was a hybrid because I'd worked in LA for 12 years working shows every night, and then my first opportunity to tour actually was on Lollapalooza. I was the first stage manager, production manager for Lollapalooza in 1991, and was invited by Perry, and I'd worked with all those bands so much to come out and do that. But then I got really kind of, you know, watching Henry Rollins up there playing for empty seats at 1 in the afternoon and watching his passion of music. So in 1995, I was going to go be a school teacher, honest. I was about ready to get out of the music business. I didn't want to be burned out in clubs and just kind of become that person. So I thought maybe teaming up and bringing a lot of young artists. So that year, No Doubt, Quicksand, Sublime, Civ, Orange 9mm, Seaweed. We got all these people together and maybe put in a skate ramp. There was this culture of skating going on in California, and I was part of that. Did a lot of skateboarding events, and we all went out on the road, and it was kind of like this light community. We shared buses, we shared crew, we put a skate. We didn't know what we were up to, but we saw this passion in this, and I saw this whole, you know, independent scene going on. It's kind of the same scene I'm going back on in 2011. I'm seeing artists doing it themselves, and we were talking about it in the panel about how it's like-minded artists who have to figure out the next way to make their livings and move on. So Warped Tour, you know, I was going to be 1 year, and now we're entering our 17th summer, so I guess it's still working in some ways.
It very much is, and congratulations.
Well, thank you very much.
In your opinion, what role does touring play in a musician's career?
Well, I think it's balance. I think we got to this whole world where it was like everything was, there was this balance between record sales and music sales and touring, and then all of a sudden it became touring, and even up until 2 years ago it was like, oh, the touring is the one bright spot. Everyone's going to shows. But now the market's oversaturated in some ways. These live shows, every venue's packed. There's shows going on every night. Like-minded artists used to try to stay away from each other in the city, and now right across the street, in my world, you'll see All Time Low at one venue, and then right down the street you'll see, you know, Newfound Glory or someone, instead of teaming up and packaging. So now you've got to kind of, everyone's going back to that balance. It used to be, I used to say, it started out, you'd play in a backyard party and try to make $50 at a backyard party. Then we learned how to sell $50 of t-shirts at a backyard party. And now every day you go out, you got to do the t-shirts, you've got to be able to make a little money, and then all of a sudden you got to learn how to sell your own music. And that's either, you know, still that hand amount. There's people will still pay $10 for CDs. That's the unique thing. It's amazing how much music is actually sold in the Warped Tour parking lot. because people will buy a CD for $5 or $10, and if you team that up with a little money, artists can make a living, you know, and it's interesting how many places they're making a living out of now. Bloomington, Indiana, you know, everyone, you know, music's not based in LA or New York anymore. It's coming out of little cities and garages all over this country, and it's really an exciting time.
Yeah, and what you guys are doing on Warped Tour really speaks to that, because you're reaching out to a lot of those communities, a lot of those fans that are just in the middle of America, not on a coast.
You know, but I always tell Warped Tour, everyone's like, a Warped Tour, and I go, well, Warped Tour is just another, like a stepping stone. You've got to have a plan the rest of the year, because there's so many bands that I know don't progress each year, but they think they can come back on Warped Tour. You've got to have this plan. Every day you wake up as an artist, you've got to, it's a business now. I mean, it's always been the music business, but now as an artist, you've got to really work on your craft every day. I mean, there's no shortcuts. And being patient, patience is a key word, I think, is very important.
Absolutely. You told me earlier that during your panel today, you basically opened up the entire session to Q&A. Tell me why you did that, first of all, and what were people asking?
Well, I believe that at these conferences that everyone's coming here with something they'd like to leave with, you know. If you want to hear our stories, I believe that you guys should have a bar tab. And you should just invite us down there and give us a few beers, and we can tell stories all day. But if you really want to learn something at these panels now, I just say open it up with a question, because we don't know what's in your minds. And what you're thinking, you know, may spark, and I think it really sparked in the group. For us, it was a really fun, I think it was fun for all of us, because, you know, Matt Nathanson, you know, we reconnected with him, and looking forward to hanging out with him again. But, you know, it stimulates the audience, and it was fun, because that's the kind of panel I think we could have had lunch and come back, and I think there would have been that many questions all over again. More people would have thought about it.
That's really cool. So tell me what people were asking.
I mean, a lot of it is, you know, is there any true surefire model to touring or making it in this business? And I think what came out, there really isn't. You know, it's like you have to hone your own way. You can't just read a book and make it. Everyone's got to figure out what works for them. You know, and adapt as it goes. You know, there is no surefire. You can take tidbits of whatever purpose, how to build your own future.
That's great advice. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the panel and everything. And hopefully we'll get you back next year and for many more times.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And see you in the parking lot in Nassau in a few months.
Hopefully.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.